Welcome back to 104.3 ESPN Panama City, and we have an amazing treat and surprise, and Opie's going to bring this caller on. We've got a very, very unexpected surprise. It's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. This is, and my sister should be excited about this. I just checked because usually she listens through Facebook because she lives out in Washington State. But in just a little bit, we're going to be joined by none other than Washington State University head football coach Mike Leach.
Woohoo!
Can you believe it?
That's awesome.
He's just chilling in Key West. So.
He's just chilling in Key West.
Far from Washington State at the moment.
Yeah. So tell us, Coach. So you know, obviously you know Mike Leach. You got him. You got him on speed dial. You got him in your cell phone. Can you share his contact information with me, please?
and here's a great story of Mike. When I was head coach at Key West, he would constantly talk about wanting to be the head coach at Key West. So when I left, he applied and he didn't get the job at Key West High School. He's one of the greatest football coaches on earth. He's got to tell you that story. Ask him about Pepe, his dog, too.
Okay.
Okay. Well, he's joining us.
If you'd like to make a call, please hang up and try again.
That doesn't sound like Mike Leach.
It doesn't, does it?
No.
Hey, dude, your clutch hat is turning into a crutch hat right now, so see if you can fix that. Well, I'm sorry about that. We'll have Mike Leach on with us in just a minute. Little technical difficulty.
Yeah, he's got his own bar stool down in one of the bars down in Key West with his name on it. Ernest Hemingway and him are the only ones.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Mike's a legend.
Yo, he is. I love his interviews more than anybody else, more than any other coach. I absolutely love the post-game interviews. Are just classic. Or any of the interviews.
Yeah, he's got a law degree from Pepperdine, so he's extremely educated. And the thing that people don't realize, he's a BYU graduate. So when you meet him, you do not think Mormon, but Mike's Mormon.
Okay.
And I love that guy. We've had some crazy conversations. One time I was on the road recruiting and he calls me on my cell phone to ask me a question. And I said, "What's up?" He said, "Have you ever been to Mars, Texas?" I said, "No, I don't even know where that is." He said, "Well, you know, the next town is Jupiter, then Saturn." He said, "It's not the way it should be. It should be in a row." And he's going on and on and on. And all of a sudden I hear this clapping sound. I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Oh, I'm at the Big 12 meetings. I got to speak right now." Hangs up and goes out there and talks.
Okay, joining us at 104.3 ESPN Panama City is Coach Leach. Are you with us?
Yeah.
Hey, Coach.
Welcome.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
We're great.
Good.
Welcome to the show. We really appreciate your time and for you spending some time for our nonsense here today.
Oh, no problem at all.
So I got this guy sitting next to me that's telling all kinds of stories about you and about where you wanted to get the head football coach job down there in Key West after he left. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, heck yeah. I mean, I tried at one time. They didn't hire me. They hired some fella, and I've never met him. They hired a fella that had a boat down here, an older guy, and the guy says, he says, "Well, I've coached semi-pro in New Hampshire, and which of course is a beer league. That's like weekend guys put the pads on." He says,
smoke on the sideline.
Yeah, they weren't as impressed. They weren't as impressed that I was coaching at Valdosta State as they were the fact that this guy coached men's league football in New Hampshire. And so anyway, long story short, I think it all turned out the best for everyone, probably.
So are you you're in Key West now, though?
Yeah.
Are you looking for that job back now?
No.
Well, there's days I get up, I'm thinking about it for sure. I mean, because this is pretty nice down here. And then now it's hard to beat Pullman, and we're going to be good this year. But, I don't even have a car down here. I just ride my bike and walk, and it's like, it's both idiot-proof and worry-free,
Hey, Mike, here's the deal. When you're ready to do it, it'll be the Siegel Leach party down there.
Yeah.
That'd be a good deal because I still see some of those characters that you introduced me to.
I'm sure there's a lot of characters down there.
Washington State University head football coach Mike Leach joins us on 104.3 ESPN Panama City. So is Key West kind of like your summer home? Is that where you go when you're not in Pullman?
You know, we've had this little bungalow down here we've had it down here for since 2009. So yeah, try to get here. You know, it's a pretty good decompressed place, but then and lived here for 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. But then the other thing about it was we lived here for 2.5 years, and and so then, you know, and then of course I get the job at Washington State, which couldn't be any further from here, you know.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, that's about the farthest most tip
I
all
guess
the way
Alaska
on the other
or Hawaii could. Other in the continental U.S., it's the furthest you can be.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, I was telling the story. I don't remember. I was out recruiting somewhere, and we were talking on the phone, and you asked me if I knew where Mars, Texas is. Do you remember that?
It might have been Mejia, Texas.
No, you said
Is there a
Mars.
Mars, Texas?
You said Mars because it should be next to Venus and Jupiter, and you went on a whole thing about that.
Oh, maybe I did. That could be. Well, I'll tell you this. Well, here's what's amazing about West Texas, and it's unique to most other places in the country. Okay, so California is the most populated state, and then you know, by a significant margin. And so, and they have these directories. They have these directories, these high school directories. So California's is obviously a big, significant directory. But Texas's is almost half again bigger than the California one. And the thing is there's all these little bitty towns in Texas, and then they all have high schools. There's, you know, every white spot in the road's got a high school. They even have 6-man football. And that directory in Texas, there's way more towns. And then the other thing that was unique in West Texas was, you know, and as spread out as all those towns are, there could be a town, say, 100 miles away or something like that somebody hadn't heard of. And it was really unique that way, that all these little, like, spots, and probably had a water hole where there was a rattlesnake and a jackrabbit fighting for a thimble of water. And so then they named the town, you know.
That town would be Jackrabbit, Texas.
Oh, they'd call it that. Well, here's one. Okay, now there's some imagination with this one. One of them is called Earth, Texas.
No, that's the one you were. That was the one, Mike. That's the one you were telling me about. Earth.
Oh no, it was Earth, Texas. Earth.
That was original.
And then there's a run of Iran. Well, they changed the pronunciation, but there's Iran, Texas. You know, all these. Some kind of have Middle East names, and except for pronounced different. You know, and then for good measure, and then. But yeah, there's these little towns like Marfa, Texas. Marfa's getting real hot right now. Yeah. And I don't dislike Marfa, but I've never quite figured it out. It's sort of the it place to go, even though there's just property everywhere. It's fairly expensive, and I don't quite get it. But obviously the Marfa lights, which some people think are UFOs, which I don't, but I've seen the Marfa lights, and they go into all this. I mean, I don't. It's always been this kind of artsy community, and it's a unique, stark landscape. Not totally my type, but there is a hotel there where they filmed that James Dean movie Giant, called the Paisano, which has just incredibly good food there.
Well, Coach, I'll tell you what, we've got my sister went to Washington State, graduated from there, as well as my nephew recently graduated from Washington State. My mother and my father both graduated from Washington State. Most of my family. I'm not. I went to East Carolina, so I'm the I'm the black sheep of the family, so to speak. But my sister is listening, and she's just an absolute diehard, huge Cougar fan, and she was actually on the show. She came down here to visit, and she was on the show a little while ago, and she's absolutely flipping out right now. She's blowing my phone up, and she's going, "Oh my God, you got Mike Leach! You got Mike Leach! You got Mike Leach! Mike Leach!" Would you mind doing me just one favor and just say hello to Robin Lindenmeyer?
Well, this is Mike Leach. I want to say hello to Robin Lindenmeyer, who sounds like she's getting the Southeast converted to Washington State. And on behalf of Rhonda, go Cougs.
There you go, baby.
She actually is trying to convert the Southeast to all the Pac-12, everything that's up your way. That's what she wanted to do. And you know what it's like down here. It's SEC country.
Yeah, that's it. She came on here.
It's strangely similar in Washington State. What's interesting about Washington State is, the Pac-12 is a great conference because there's such variety to the locations. We have like one of the wettest places, the driest place, the highest place, the lowest, some stuff like that. There's just incredible diversity to it, but they're almost all in urban settings. Mm-hmm. And we're one of the exceptions from the standpoint, our town is kind of a SEC type of town, mm-hmm. Where it's a true college town.
Yeah, no doubt. Where would you say is probably, and I know, other than in Pullman, where would you say is your favorite place to play?
Really, it's kind of the next place, but whoever you have that week, you kind of get fired up about that one. But two great ones, two just outstanding ones are Texas A&M and LSU.
Wow.
Yeah.
So totally went off the Pac-12 on that one.
Yeah.
The Pac-12 is a great place.
Well,
where would your best place to play? I don't know, Death Valley.
Well, I'll tell you a good Pac-12 place. Oregon's outstanding because when you drive up, it looks like Middle Earth. It's not as loud as A&M or LSU, but it looks like Middle Earth. You go around the stadium. First of all, it's hilly, and even if it doesn't rain, it's misty, and it does rain more than a person would like because it is rainy there. Okay, but it's always misty, and so you go through all these ferns and mist, and there'll be waterfalls coming down the stadium. So you really do feel like you're in some Lord of the Rings deal, and then of course you go in the stadium and the Ducks will have some uniforms that don't really match their school per se. And then the funniest thing in the stands, and it's kind of different because their team is kind of a flashy team, and then in the stands, these guys look like they came out of a duck blind or something, because it's kind of a rural setting, and there's a lot of outdoor activities, hunting, fishing, and so it is kind of it's almost like their team and their players are a little different than their fans in a way.
Yeah. And we were talking about what we thought, the uniforms, we were talking about that, who had the coolest college uniforms, whose uniforms were just kind of outrageous, and their Oregon came up. But then we were also talking about what the fields that we thought were some of the, not just fields, but courts, like the Oregon Ducks basketball court is just one of the most ridiculous courts. It's hard to follow the thing. But our favorite here is, and you've actually coached game, and I know you've played in this stadium. How do you feel about playing on that blue field in Boise State?
You honestly don't notice it that much.
Really?
I thought you would more than you do. And then, of course, they'll wear red jerseys, red pants. You really don't notice it as much as I thought we would on film. And part of it is their end zones and their sidelines are kind of open. So you can kind of see, you can see the distinction, the contrast between the guys standing on the field. One of the toughest ones, those ones that have like different colors, like red field, stuff like that. Yeah. I don't know, I've never played on one. I don't know if it would affect you playing on it, but as you watch film, as you're sitting there watching film, it's just kind of it's like watching a bad television set. It's just kind of, you act like it feels like the set's not tuned in. It's too bright. It's unnerving. And so, to be perfectly honest, if I was at one of those schools, I'd actually want to change it just from the standpoint of watching a bunch of film on there. But I don't know. I don't know if that's a good question. I'd have to see if opponents have a tough time with it.
Very good. Coach, what do you have against candy corn and fruitcake?
Oh, they taste awful. I mean, they're just awful. I mean, I don't know. Do you guys like it?
No, I agree with you. I got a quote. Here's a quote from. I mean, I love
Candy
your quote
corn
so much.
people though they're either on or they're off.
Yeah.
Candy corn, that crowd's either on or off.
Yeah.
I like candy corn. I'm just going to say it.
Not me.
But people aren't in the middle on candy corn. They're
I
either
like
on
candy
or off. and now, fruitcakes.
No.
I don't know anybody that's on. I can maybe a few old ladies that are trying to be polite or something. I can't think of anybody that's on the fruitcake train.
Hey,
I'm with you on that.
Hey, Coach, we used to, when we would get them as gifts from other people, we used them as doorstops, literally. Like back in the day.
I mean,
Fruitcake.
well, they only give them once a year for a reason. They're awful.
They're so heavy.
Why are they even serving it at all? I can't believe
I
they're.
don't know. And I've even eaten them a couple of times trying to acquire a taste for it and with no real success. So tried to acquire the taste for it, was not able to do it successfully. And, would take a few bites as a kid every 2 years or something. Well, no, it didn't work. It's just awful.
Do you still have a Viking axe by your bed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. A few firearms around. Now that the kids are out of the house, I feel a little safer loading the guns too.
Gotcha. Washington State University head coach Mike Leach, but he's a lot of fun joining us on 104.3 ESPN Panama City. We certainly appreciate your time. I've been a big fan of yours for a long time, just as a coach, because you're like the anti Bill Belichick, and from a and I don't mean from a winning standpoint, but I mean that from a standpoint of your post game interviews, and you really just you're such a breath of fresh air in the sports world when we get to hear somebody say things that what you like. And one of my favorite quotes is that Viking axe. You're like, I do have a Viking axe by my bed if I need to whack someone. So it's like that's what I want to hear.
I'll tell you the most unique deal I have is this Fijian War Club. And but the thing is, you say, hey, I have a Fijian War Club, and nobody really knows quite what you're talking about. So it requires a couple segments to go into a description on it. So
okay. Oh man. All right. So coming up this season, what do you see? You opened the season against New Mexico State, right? And what are the big games that you're looking at on your schedule this year that might be the most challenging for you?
I see season a series of weeks, a series of increments. You've got 12 increments, and if it's week 7, you better make sure you're a week 17. You better make sure you've improved 7 weeks worth once you get there. And so I always try to improve in increments each week and make sure we're doing that and make sure that we're elevating. And you see it every year. You'll see, you might see a team, depending on their schedule and who they played, they might be 3-0 early in the season. They might be 3-0, but they haven't really improved from one game to the next. And despite their record, that's a team that's kind of in trouble, Mm-hmm. So I think the focus and trying to ensure improvement, I think, is a big deal.
Coach Leach, I would love to hear your input about, we had BCS, and then we went to the college football playoff. And of course, now everybody's talking about, expanding the college football playoff to 6 or 8 games. What are your thoughts on that?
I think. I'd like to see it go 64. I'd like to see it go well, and I think you could pretty easily. I don't think it'd be very hard. I think the least amount should be 16. And then, it's funny because Division I acts like, oh, well, how can you have 16? Well, that'd be impossible. Well, anybody that says it's impossible is a total moron. Okay. And I know that there's some very distinguished people that have said that it's impossible. And I also realize that some of the legends of the game have said that it's impossible. Okay, and they're either morons or they're disingenuous or they haven't thought the issue through.
Right.
I mean, because the notion that you can't, they may not want to do 16 games, but the notion that you can't do 16 games, well, of course, that's absurd.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because they do it in or they do it in Division III.
Right.
They do it in Division II. They do it in 1AA. They do it in the National Football League. They do it in states with, that have major college playoffs, like Texas, California. I mean, and the list goes on, okay? And so can you do 16? Well, of course you can. And if you can't figure out how to do it, go down to the local city park and get, say a soccer tournament format. And that guy will probably help you out once he's done mowing the lawn and, fixing the little bleacher seat on the front row of the Little League field or something. And he'd be happy to slowly and patiently explain to some of these NCAA people how exactly you could have a 16-team playoff. And now, if you did 64, and everybody can do the math. I mean, you could, you don't even have to start a week early. You could if you want to. I think you cut the regular season down to 10. I think about the middle of and you could be done by January. You could be done on January 1st also pretty easily. But you cut the regular season down to 10, and then about a little over midway through, half the country has their off week, but the other half of the country plays. The next week, the other half of the country has their off week, and you make sure that nobody has to play somebody that had an off week before you play them when you didn't. Then as you get towards the end, teams can, if they know they're not going to be in the top 64, they can start scheduling home and home games with each other, and you guarantee everybody 12 games. And because I think everybody plays 12 no matter what. Okay, so then as you get towards the end of the season, you start making the bracket of 64, and you seed it out. Seed it out. So the upper seed, they get to be at home, and the lower seed plays at the upper seed team's place. And then obviously after that first round, then you're down to 32. And then, so right after the regular season, you have an off week to organize all this stuff. And so, you have an off week, but the thing is some of those other teams, to make up their 12 that know they're not going to be in the 64, they can play that week, and they play that week, and you have a number of games. Okay, then you'll have the 64. Okay, so whoever the teams that get eliminated when you have the 64, the home and home in the first round, then they have one more game left, and they can play in the natural breaks of the playoff system. And after the first round, then you incorporate the bowls, which equals approximately 40 games. You can add it all up, which is almost, now this is interesting, exactly the number of bowls that we have. And so true. Then you just plug in the bowls. Now, you don't go down there to the bowls for a week. It's, you may be there an extra day. You don't have to be, but because it's the playoffs, And so then I think the whole thing would be exciting. It's indisputable it'd make more money. Nobody can argue with that. And then if you go through that gauntlet and you're the champion, it's pretty tough to argue with the fact that you deserve the distinction of being national champion, even if somebody feels like their team wasn't quite as lucky as they should have been in the quarterfinals or something.
No one can say they were left out.
It sounds like you've put some thought into this. I think I think he just gave us the whole architecture of what the entire system should look like. I mean, we got this recorded, right? Because I'm going to steal a lot of this.
Now, did you do that at Old Town Wine and Spirits with Blatt or something?
No, I'll tell you.
Or you and Joe Weed figure that out.
Yeah, we got to argue. I keep up with Joe Weed, but we got to argue. We got to talking about it, thinking about it. I first came up with it when I was offensive coordinator at the University of Kentucky, and just thought of it there, and then it's one of those things where you're watching film, and
Yeah.
driving yourself crazy because you're watching film, and then you're too tired to keep watching film, and you're too tired to go home, and so and then you're sitting there talking to the guy or two down the hall, and then pretty soon you start drawing it up on the grease board, and it really works out quite fantastically. I mean, it's it's the type of thing where, okay, so after the regular season of 10, okay, well, in the middle, off week. Okay, after the regular season, off week. Okay, after a couple rounds, say quarterfinal, off week. After the finals, off week. And so the champion plays 16 games. So in the end, the champion plays 16 games, which okay, now this thing will amaze you. It's almost like metaphysical. It's like really remarkable.
Okay, this is a great place to stop, Coach. Coach, I got to stop you.
Shock and amaze you.
Hey, Coach, Coach, I need to stop you. We're up against a break. We got to go to the break, and that's a great tease. Would you mind sticking with us? We just got a quick, short commercial break and come back. Would you mind staying one more segment with us?
All right.
Oh, you're the best. All right. 104.3 ESPN Panama City with Washington State University head coach Mike Leach. We'll be back in just a little bit.
104.3 ESPN Panama City. Advertise on the premier, most listened to sports leader in Northwest Florida and let us talk about your business. Call us at 850-215-4468 and we'll make our listeners your customers. Call us at 850-215-4468. Northwest Florida's most talked about radio station. 104.3 ESPN Panama City. 104.3 ESPN Panama City. Advertise on the premier, most listened to sports leader in Northwest Florida and let us talk about your business. Call us at 850-215-4468 and we'll make our listeners your customers. Call us at 850-215-4468. Northwest Florida's most talked about radio station. 104.3 ESPN Panama City.
Are you ready for the best pizza in Bay County? It's Paparazzi Gourmet Deli with over 100 years of recipes passed down through 4 generations. Paparazzi Gourmet specializes in New York and authentic Italian-American specialties from the deli, prepared foods, and of course, pizza. They even cater for all occasions. Click paparazzigourmetdeli.com to check out their daily specials. Come taste the difference at Paparazzi Gourmet Deli, Thomas Drive next to Goodwill on Panama City Beach. Call 850-588-8244 for fast pickup and DoorDash.
Bay Point Golf Club, featuring the only Nicholas design course in Northwest Florida. Best of Bay winner last 3 years running. Brand new Tip Eagle Bermuda greens, renovated fall of 2018. Great deals for locals and active military with our local players pass. Come enjoy a round of golf on not only the best course on the beach, but on the best new greens as well. Call 850-235-6950 or visit our website, baypointgolfclub.com.
Charter Senior Living of Panama City Beach, where you'll find great care, friendly faces, and reasonable prices that you'd expect. They have exciting plans ahead for residents and families, including major updates and renovations to the campus, and providing the best care in senior living. Come visit and meet the people who make life there beautiful. Charter Senior Living of Panama City Beach, 6012 Magnolia Beach Road in the Grand Lagoon area of Panama City Beach. Call Michelle Romeo at 236-0510 or visit charterseniorliving.com.
Panama City's #1 sports talk station gives you more live programming. 104.3 ESPN Panama City. Now back to the coach's daughter.
104.3 ESPN Panama City. We're joined with Washington State University head football coach Mike Leach. Before the break, he was giving us his brilliant take on how we could expand the college football playoffs to 64 teams. And just before the break, with a great tease there, I appreciate it, Coach. There's something that's going to blow our minds. The stage is yours, my friend.
Well, okay, Division One college football plays less games to determine a champion than any other classification except for maybe junior high school. I mean, they play the least. Okay, now, if we play the same as everybody else, Division Three is 15 or 16. Division Two, you play 16 games. 1AA, you guessed it, 16 games. Okay, I mean, in most major high schools, classifications in major states, 16 games. I mean, amazingly, I really think that Division 1A teams could play and manage 16 games, and the NFL plays even more. So, and there's a certain amount of denial because people want to control the money, and if you stick a room full of 20 bureaucrats, nobody can make a decision. And this is one of those things that's been victimized by that, I believe. But it'd be easy to do.
Man, that's one of the best takes on the college football playoffs.
We are nominating you, Coach Leach, to be the architect and head up the committee for this.
Head up the committee for all of that.
Well, and then the committee, they'd be arguing over who's number 64.
Right. 65 didn't get in,
65 got screwed. What's the deal?
Yeah, what's the deal? Hey, Coach, have you your eyes on maybe the NFL at some point? I mean, you led the Cougars last year to the best, the best record in the Pac-12, and you just barely missed the college football playoffs, which, according to yours, you'd have been right in.
Yeah, you'd have been in.
We're the top seed. But have you thought about the NFL at all, or are you just really like college and you want to stay there, or what's your take on that?
Well, I think the NFL. Obviously, you have the best players to play. I think the key thing in the NFL, college, you evaluate them by great recruiting bases. The NFL, you evaluate it by, the relationship between the owner, the GM, and the head coach. If everybody's on the same page and pulling the same direction, and every one of them that are like that, they do well. I mean, the ones where kind of there's one voice, and typically the stronger the voice of the head coach, the better the team is. Like, and New England personifies it. It's like Robert Kraft stays out of the way. Belichick essentially hires the GM, and whether he's right or wrong, which like anybody, nobody's perfect, but whether he's right or wrong, they have a clear path, clear direction on any decision that's made.
Wow, that's great. So is the answer no? You're not interested in going into the NFL?
Well,
you kind of coached me there a little bit, but
the answer is like anything. I mean, you look at it, you consider. But I'm very happy where I'm at. And Washington State's been very good to me and my family. It's been exciting to coach there, play there, and we certainly have more to do.
How do you feel about Dan Snyder? I'm a big-time Washington Redskins fan.
They said they got something going on there, which I don't understand or didn't pay much attention. I don't know him at all. I've met him before, and I have a couple of friends that know him quite well, but I don't know him, and but seems like a nice enough guy.
Well, I'm going to start the heavy push to get you as the new head coach of the Washington Redskins. They're the team I've followed all my life. My dad's favorite team, my grandfather's favorite team, way back to even when they were the Boston Braves. So I'm being a bit of a homer here.
That's the director Peter Berg's favorite.
Is that
favorite team? Well, his company's called Studio 44.
John Riggins.
And even though he's from New York, he's always a Redskins fan. And Riggins was his favorite player, John Riggins. That's why it's Studio 44.
Oh man, absolutely! I love Peter Berg. He's phenomenal. All right, so we were talking earlier, and we've been having this debate, and I know it almost sounds like old sad, sports radio debate about paying college football players. Was wondering if you had, if you wanted to weigh in on that, if you had any input on whether you think they should be paid either salary based or stipend based, or if they should be allowed to make money off of their image and their likeness and sell autographs, or where do you stand on that?
Well, first of all, we already pay them. I mean, let's be clear about that. The notion that we don't pay college football players is, of course, absurd. And depending how many years they decide to go to college, it's worth probably, if it's a state school, somewhere in the neighborhood of $250,000. Because you get summer paid for too. But if you think about it, you've got 4 years of eligibility. Then you can redshirt, so there's 5 years. And then if you go every summer, which most major Division I schools you do, and you go only half-time over the summer, not full-time, half-time. Mm-hmm. All right, well, that equals 6 years. I mean, you can get a lot of degrees in 6 years. And so I think that the notion that nothing's paid for, well, that's ridiculous. So then the question becomes, do you want to pay them more? I don't have any problem with paying them more because there's more money to be had, sure. And then, of course, the question is, where does it go? And it essentially does have, but I don't think college's first mission is to feed the NFL. Well, provide a path for the NFL. No, college football is an entity in and of itself, and important whether somebody goes to the NFL or not. And to be perfectly honest, most players have better memories from college. And I don't know about per capita, I mean, some of those big schools, even more people follow them and watch them than the NFL. So, despite the fact there's 120 of them and or more. And so then, if you want to pay them more, I don't have any problem with it, just as long as there's not a bidding war. You have to make sure that there's not a bidding war. And but this notion that and all these people that think somebody that's 18 is a professional and they have it all sorted out, obviously cannot remember when they were 18. I can remember when I was 18. Okay, this notion that I'm a professional, I'm 18. I'm a professional. Okay, so I'm 18. So let's add to it that that I'm stronger, faster, and bigger. Okay, I didn't say smarter. Okay, I'm not any smarter, but I'm just stronger, faster, and bigger. Okay, now I've got some expertise on the course of my life, and you're a professional. All this notion that, well, somebody's a professional and they can transfer whenever they want, and and they can go to the highest bidder and all that. Well, that of course is ridiculous. I mean, if you think an 18-year-old kid's a professional, next time you or somebody in your family needs surgery, don't get one of those kids that's 18 years old that has an interest in medicine and has pretty good science grades, and go ahead and have him do the surgery, because it would cost you a lot less.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And then if everybody's a professional, we wouldn't have any hat ceremonies anymore.
Yeah.
Like somebody's the greatest running back in the country. Mm-hmm. Well, I want to go to these 10 schools. Really? You want to go to these 10 schools? Well, those 10 schools don't have the first pick. Yeah. Molly Putz University has the first pick.
I think I
and
coached
guess what? It looks like they're going to draft you. and well, I don't want to go to Molly Putz. Too bad. You're a professional.
That's it.
And so-and-so's got a bad year, bragging about, well, I'm a professional now. I get paid so much. And, well, no, I mean, we're not renewing your contract. You didn't have a very good year. By the way, this walk-on, we're going to take the money we took from you, and we're going to go ahead and give it to him because he had a hell of a year.
Yeah, I hear you, Coach. Coach, we're up against the hard network out. The show's almost over. I can't tell you. I could just listen to you forever if I could just sit here and listen to you. Man, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you calling in and giving us your time. But man, we just loved it. I hope you would be willing to come back some other time. We'll try not to monopolize it too much, but we wish you the best of luck. Go Cougars this year. We hope you guys go undefeated and make the college football playoffs, and hopefully face Florida in the national championship.
Thanks, Coach
Mike.
Leach. We appreciate it.
Later, Mike.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks so much for having me on, Andy. Good to hear from you.
You too, buddy.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right,
Bye.
I'm telling you what.
That was a highlight. Was that not
that's the highlight of my entire radio broadcasting career, which has been all of about a month and a half. That was something else, man. Thank you so much, Coach.
Yeah,
Coach. I mean, brother.
Thank you for being with us too.
Please come back and come hang out with us. And Coach Siegel, we really appreciate him being here, and also him loaning us our show slave, his son Austin, to do our evil bidding whenever we need to do the evil bidding as well, and he does great. So, wow, I'm just I'm all fluttered. I feel like
it's awesome.
I'm just excited. 104.3 ESPN Panama City. Tomorrow is Fan Friday. Kyle and me with a fan in the show, so don't miss it tomorrow.
Dennis Barfield will be our Fan Friday guest.
Dennis Barfield. So join us tomorrow while Lee Ann sits around and gets fanned and fed grapes by a lot of her minions. 104.3
ESPN Panama City.